Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Iti piso bhagavarahan samma sambuddho vijjacharana sampanno sugato lokavidu. Anuttaro purisadamma sarati satta deva manusanam buddho bhagavati. Namo tassa samma sambuddhassa. Swakato bhagavata dhammo sanditiko akaliko hipassiko apanayiko pachattang veditavvo vinnuhiti. Namo tassa niyanika sadammasa. Supatipanno bhagavato savaka sango ujupatipanno bhagavato savaka sango nyaya patipanno bhagavato savaka sango samichi patipanno bhagavato savaka sango yadidam chattari purisa yugani atta purisa puggala esa bhagavato savaka sango ahuneyo pahuneyo dakkineyo anjali karaniyo Anuttarang punyakhetan lokasati. Namo tassa atta arya puggala mahasangasa. So, last week we have seen a Jaataka tale about the importance of Shila, the moral precept. How the Bodhisattva Bhuridatta, he was a Naga prince, how he could go to an extent of sacrificing his life, going through a lot of hardships to stick on to that resolve that he has taken for himself. So if you promise to others or if you promise to yourself, that is what is called resolving, that resolution. Then one should stand for it. That is the true strength of a human being. And all other things like your intelligence, your work efficiency, your alertness, your dynamism, your presence of mind, everything will follow if you stand for those words and those promises that you give to yourself and of course you give to others. That's what is one common observation you can have in all these Jaataka stories. For different parmis, for different perfections like Dana parmi, Shila parmi, Satcha parmi like truth, then Panya parmi for wisdom, then for Kanti parmi for patience, for Adhitthana for resolve. For resolve also, then you should stand for it. You should say whatever may be the cost. And the bodhisattvas, they can go to any extent. And for metta parmi, and for nekkamma means like nishtamana, like renunciation. If I decide to renunciate, whatever may be the cost, I renunciate. If I decide to take up the precepts, whatever may be the problem, whatever may be the difficulty, I stand for this. I decide to give generous, decide to give and give up, decide to offer, I stand for it. So that is what is the true strength you can observe among all successful people, and it will go to an extreme thing, like it will become very powerful in case of bodhisattvas. Higher your ability to stand for your promise, your word, your commitment, higher is your success rate, higher is your progress, higher is your growth. That's what you can see in all these Jaataka tales. So in the last week's Bhuridatta story, or sometime back we had this Maha Ummagga, or this Oshada Kumara, his name is also, she is also called Oshada Kumara, where he was working on like developing the skillfulness of sorting out the disputes. Whatever he is doing, he is using all his intelligence to make it more beautiful, more useful, more beneficial, more long-lasting, more harmonious. more acceptable by everyone. So in that way, using that intelligence to make the things more skillful, that is what is Panya Parmi, the wisdom perfection. That's what this Maha Umagga or this Oshada Kumara, who is born with some medicinal proficiency, medicinal skills, to help to cure people different kinds of diseases. Then he started building different kinds of halls, different buildings for the sake of sorting out the disputes, for religious discourses, for as auditoriums, as indoor stadiums. He started building so many futuristic, very architecturally, very efficient buildings, very advanced buildings. Again, the skillfulness, intelligence, its durability, its usefulness, which is conducive to the purpose for which it is building. All these things, if you put forth your intelligence and enthusiastically work for it, that's how you can develop your Panya Parmi. That's what we have seen even in healing people, putting forth all the parameters that will contribute to the health. Well, if you focus on all the parameters which will contribute to the health and balance all those things, see the sustainability, see its relative permanence, see its less side effects, all these things if you keep working, and that's how your skillfulness develops. And sorting out the disputes, even from small disputes to the bigger disputes, the disputes between two people, two individuals, for some meager things, like for some one necklace, from starting from there, sorting out the disputes between two countries, two kingdoms, two nations. So looking for all the possible alternatives, or maybe even some creative, innovative, out-of-box thinking also. Completely you are put forth your compassion, your will, your intelligence. That's how you develop your Panya Parmi, and that's what you can see in that first discourse, in this series of Jaataka discourses, Jaataka tales, which are related to the Pāramitās, different 10 Pāramitās. So that's what we have seen in the previous 2 weeks. Like one is about the Panya Parmi, how the skillfulness one should develop in performing the different actions, so that it will be more sustainable, it will be more beneficial, it will be more acceptable, it will be more harmonious. All these things, if you look into and give solutions in all aspects, whether it is health or whether it is in engineering, whether it is in sorting out the disputes like judiciary skills, all these things if you develop, then your overall wisdom will develop. And to achieve that, the Bodhisattva will go to an extent that he is ready to sacrifice his life. He is ready to bear all the hardships, and also he can go to an extent of sacrificing his life. That is the beauty of Bodhisattva's life. That's what is the very purpose of, becoming a Bodhisattva. So one you should not hesitate to fulfill that Parmi, the perfection of wisdom or perfection of Shila. You should not hesitate, or you should not feel scared, you should not be afraid. Then only he becomes a Bodhisattva. And that's what this our Bodhisattva, who became Lord Buddha Gautama. In the previous lives he was having different names. So that Bodhisattva worked for his wisdom. His name is Maha Umagga, and the Bodhisattva, the Naga prince, who worked to commit himself to stand for fulfilling this Uposatha Shila. Like say once in 15 days, some people take up this Uposatha Shila once in 15 days. Some people in some countries they take up Uposatha Shila once in a week. So 4 times in a month, sometimes they take up this Uposatha Shila. Some people take up this Uposatha Shila once in 15 days, that is 2 times in a week, on full moon day and on the new moon day. So though he was a Naga king, and it was very difficult to practice this Upasthata Shila in the Naga world. So because they have the ability to come to the human world and to take the form of a human being, and that possibility was there for this Naga people, for this Naga prince Buridatta. So he has to bear a lot of hardship by some snake charmer and other people who cheated him, who deceived him, and who troubled him for the sake of their greed, for the sake of their ambition. They cheated, they deceived, but still he could, and of course he has to endure lot of torture for his physical body also. So, because what for all these things? To fulfill this perfection of Shila Parmi. Yes, I have to take up these 8 precepts on these Upasthata days, on full moon day, new moon day. So whatever may be the cost, I will stand for this. So that kind of resolve, that kind of commitment is the way to fulfill these Parmis. Please understand this. For an uncommitted, for those who break the words and promises, they can't grow in the life. They remain like one useless people. So they have the excuses to escape from that commitment, and in no way they will progress. But these stories should inspire the children, the listeners, for everyone for that matter, to work on this ability to resolve, the advantages of resolving, sticking on to these resolutions, resolve these commitments, how this only will help to progress in the life. That is the inspiration that you should look for in all these Jataka stories. In the first case, for the sake of Panya, one should go to an extent of tolerating, bearing hardships, stand for it. And in the second case, for the fulfilling this Upasthata Shila, one should be in a position to stand for it, bear the hardships. Hardships from different ways. Some people may accuse, some people may threaten, some people may abuse, some people may scold, some people may beat, and sometimes you have to go through so many other kinds of hardships from the nature, from the existence, so many ways. But still, this is what I wanted to fulfill. This is where my mind will grow, my ability to succeed in this particular thing, to accomplish this particular thing. This is very much essential. To fulfill this Parmi, this is very much essential. If that knowledge, if that clarity, if that understanding is there, then one need not hesitate to stand for these things, stand for these words and promises. Many people, just for the sake of some very petty things, they break their promises. So nobody will appreciate, everybody will ignore, they don't, nobody will trust them also. And especially in the spiritual line, such people will be they will be considered as some chaff and they will be thrown away. So, but in the case of Bodhisattva's stories, these Jataka stories, this is what you should imbibe. How to stand for your words and promises, that's what is the main thing. And that's the way to fulfill the Parmis, and that's the way to liberation and enlightenment. Not only for liberation and enlightenment, even for success and happiness also, that is the way. If a person keep on changing his decisions, keep on changing his work, his actions, now and then, without being committed for it, without completing it, then his person will not succeed in any small purpose of the life also, small action also, and he will not achieve happiness also. Because of his greed and attachment and ego, because of ego only people, they break their promises. They keep jumping from one action to other action, one decision to other decision. So to create that firmness, one should take the inspiration from these Jataka tales. And today we will see, for the sake of equanimity, this equanimity is also, Upeksha is also one very, very powerful Parmi. Actually, in all these meditation techniques, for that matter, all the teachings of Buddha, slowly, step by step, it will take you towards equanimity. One will establish in equanimity, one will keep growing in this equanimity if he is practicing the different teachings of Buddha, the different meritorious actions that are recommended by Buddha, different paramis that one who is fulfilling, then his equanimity levels also will keep on increasing. And one who is practicing these four faculties of the mind, these four different meditations for these four faculties of the mind, his equanimity quotient, it will keep increasing. So, equanimity is one very important quality of one's maturity, of one's progress in Dhamma, in right view. And of course, it's a perfection also. One should fulfill that equanimity, then only there is a possibility to explore the different dimensions of the mind and transcend the different dimensions of the mind to achieve Nibbana. And understanding the right view factors, right view contents, right view parameters, right view aspects, it will again increase your equanimity. One of the powerful parameters of right view is understanding the law of cause and effect, the law of action and reaction. What you give, that only you will get. The more you give, the more you get. Good begets good, bad begets bad. So this understanding is the law of karma. If this understanding is not there, then you can't establish in right view, you can't establish in the righteousness, you can't establish or you can't progress in Dhamma, or you can't achieve any kind of success in the life, you can't achieve any higher happiness. So this is what is the purpose of all bodhisattvas and Buddhas. They try to inculcate this right view and righteousness and this law of cause and effect, and of course other aspects of this, like your Four Noble Truths, this middle path, the universal characteristics, so many other factors also which are around this law of cause and effect, which all of them come under this right view. That only is actually is taught by all bodhisattvas and Buddhas. Buddhas, they teach to its completion, very authoritatively they teach. Bodhisattvas, they keep on putting forth their effort to teach these things, right view and righteousness, and these different aspects of right view as skillfully as possible. That's what the bodhisattvas keep doing. And this, in this story also, in this Jaataka story of Mahanarada Kashyapa Jaataka, Mahanarada Kashyapa Jaataka. So that is the name of this Jaataka, which will give which will highlight the importance of understanding this law of cause and effect, so that your mind will remain very equanimous, intelligently equanimous, not ignorantly equanimous, intelligently equanimous. It will not remain indifferent, ignorantly. It will remain intelligently equanimous. When you are ignorantly indifferent, that is not equanimity. You should be intelligently alert and indifferent. Then only it becomes equanimity. So that kind of intelligent, alert, mentally balance, that mental balance is equanimity. And based on that mental balance with intelligence and alertness, if you just ignore something, then only it becomes, when you become indifferent to something, then only it becomes equanimity. So that kind of equanimity, how this law of cause and effect, it will help us to establish in this equanimity. That's what is the learning from this Jaataka tale. That's what is the key takeaway from this Jaataka tale. We will see this Jaataka tale maybe with a few details also. Instead of going very fast and covering so many Jaatakas in the same day, I thought it is better to go a little slow and try to explore the different Dhamma aspects, the right view aspects from the Jaataka stories. It will definitely will remain in our memory for a longer time, because through Jatakas, if we learn this right view, it will remain in our memory for a longer time, and then we can make use of this knowledge of right view through the Jataka tales in our day-to-day life also, in the meditation also. In all walks of life we can make use of this. So that is the idea behind this discourse or this Dhamma talk. Now coming to this Jataka tale, once after his enlightenment, Buddha, he was like he travelled to Bodh Gaya, from Bodh Gaya to Sarnath. He travelled to Sarnath from Bodh Gaya. There his 5 disciples were serving him with a lot of devotion. So he remembered them and he taught them this right view, this Dhamma, this 4 Noble Truths, this middle path, and this its ability to purify the mind. And they became Arhants. And of course, he gave them so many discourses, so many meditation skills, techniques also. So they became Arhants. And then he converted in the sense, in what sense I am saying this conversion, not simply converting from this religion to that religion. That's what these nowadays people foolishly do, all that nonsense. So here Buddha's conversion is like converting them from wrong views to right view, from wrong meditations to right meditations, that's all. So that the mind gets very authoritatively, very completely, it will be liberated. So that's what is the meaning of conversion, that whenever I use this word conversion. So Buddha converted again one young man, his name Yasa, and his 59 friends, total 60 of them. And these 5, so after this converting these 65 people from wrong view to right view, and after making them Arhants, Buddha again travelled back to this Magadha, from where he started, where this Bodh Gaya, where he got enlightenment. And because he had promised the Magadha king Bimbisara that he will come back and he will teach Dhamma, he will teach this right view and Dhamma to the Magadha king, and so that he too can be converted from the wrong views to the right view. That was the promise made by Buddha. That's why he travelled back to this Magadha and he met this Bimbisara. So before that, while travelling back to the Magadha and meeting this Bimbisara, he met 3 Kassapa brothers. One is Uruvela Kassapa, the senior most of them, the eldest of them is Uruvela Kassapa, Nadi Kassapa, Gaya Kassapa. There were 3 brothers and they had so many disciples. All of them, they were having some 1000 disciples. One was having 200 disciples, other one 300, the other one, the senior most, the eldest one, 500 disciples, total 1000 disciples. So all these 1000 disciples and 3 Kassapas, they were also converted from wrong view to right view. They were worshipping the fire, they were fire worshippers. And they were like ascetics, like growing long beard and all, and like they were doing some very, in a way, unnecessary practices, leading nowhere. So such practices they were practicing, and Buddha taught them very skillfully. They were very adamant also. This Uruvela Kassapa, he had to show him so many supernormal powers to prove that he is not an ordinary person. Buddha is not an ordinary person, he is an enlightened person. When he approached Kassapa and he requested, Buddha requested for some place to stay during that night time, then that he, with some negligence, he told where one Naga was living, one serpent was living, that room he showed. Oh, go and stay there. If you are alive, it's okay. If you are, actually Buddha only requested, I go and stay there, and he permitted, okay, go and stay there. He was a little bit bothered, but still Buddha was requesting him, he agreed to, he gave permission to Buddha to go and stay there. And he could tame that Naga. It was very ferocious Naga, ferocious serpent. Buddha could tame that, and he was inspired, this Uruvela Kassapa. And then he could say calm down some tempest, some storm and all. Then that by seeing that also he could, this Uruvela Kassapa was impressed. But still he was having in his mind that he is an Arahant and he is knowing only some supernormal powers. But after showing some 16 supernormal powers and subduing his ego, Uruvela Kassapa's ego, so then he taught him the right view, the Dhamma to this Uruvela Kassapa, and he could grasp the essence of this right view, that is this law of cause and effect, these four noble truths, this middle path approach, moderation and middle path approach, all these things he could learn and he could practice quickly, the art of purifying the mind, and he became an Arahant. Along with him, his brothers and his disciples, all of them they became Arahants. And with all these people, Buddha started traveling. On the way he could meet this Bimbisara also. So Bimbisara and his subjects, and his ministers and so many people, they were shocked to see this Uruvela Kassapa and his brothers also coming with Buddha. And they were thinking whether Buddha has become the disciple of this Kassapa or whether this Kassapa has become the disciple of Buddha. Buddha could knew that what's happening in the minds of this King Bimbisara and his subjects and his ministers. Then he looked at Kassapa. Kassapa could understand what is the intent of Buddha. And then he started prostrating on the feet of Buddha. And again by showing some supernormal powers, prostrating in different ways in front of Buddha. Then the people could understand that Kassapa has become the disciple of Buddha. And when this Bimbisara and other people requested how he became the disciple of Buddha, Buddha could explain. Buddha started giving discourses. And to make even the normal common people to understand the Dhamma, then Buddha many a times he used to give the previous life story also. This Uruvela Kassapa, not only now, in his previous life also, he was very adamant to his views and to change his mind. I had worked in the previous lives also. He might have forgotten all those things, but I remember. Now of course he is completely converted. In previous lives also, I could convert him to some extent and I could remove his wrong views to some extent when I was Bodhisattva in the previous lives. In that way he used to narrate some previous life story also, so that with the story, normal people also could understand this law of cause and effect. Good begets good, bad begets good, bad begets bad, what is good, what is bad, what is happiness, what is suffering. All these intricacies which people generally can't comprehend through some, scholarly discourses. They need some stories. Through some stories they could comprehend. So because of that reason, Buddha started explaining the importance of this law of cause and effect, this right view, and thereby one can come out of the wrong views, the extreme body-centered views or extreme the soul-centered or God-centered views, how to come out of these extreme views and how one should work on one's own mind by performing meritorious actions to purify one's own mind, by performing meritorious meditations to purify one's own mind. So these things Buddha used to explain through some stories also, and during this situation, this circumstance, when Uruvela Kassapa was converted and people were very much shocked and astonished to see this very famous, this fire worshipper, this ascetic and his brothers and their disciples, they got converted by Buddha, the single man, Buddha. So to show the importance of the discovery of Buddha, that is the right view and the right view meditations, so Buddha had to give this background story, this Jaataka story, to make these people to understand and appreciate this Dhamma, this right view. And because of the power of this right view and Dhamma, how Buddha and how this Kassapa and his brothers and their disciples got converted and became disciples of Buddha. So to prove that, this Buddha started giving this, narrating this story. So not only now, in the previous, one of the previous lives also, he was so adamant. That time he was a king. This Uruvela Kassapa was a king during that time. Okay. And one Uposatha day, I was telling you, this full moon day and new moon day, it's called Uposatha day. Now in all religions also you can see this Uposatha once in a while. In some religions they practice, in many religions. This Jews also, this Israel, now this war is going on. Actually when this Hamas people attacked Israel, that day they say it was the Uposatha day, the Sabbath day, they call it as Sabbath. That day they were like, say, they were completely these spiritual or these religious things. In all religions it is there, in many religions, in many Hindu sects, in many Islamic sects, in many Christian sects, and of course these Jews also. Once in a while, once in a week or once in a 15 days, they follow some principles, some rules. They keep away all the worldly things, they focus on studies or meditation or prayers or chantings or some, say, fasting, all these things they practice. And that's what is called Sabbath or Uposatha day. So on one Uposatha day, this king, he was also a very pious king. This his name was Angati. Angati was his name. This Angati, he was the king of Videhas. He was in Mithila. So he was like on that day, on that Uposatha day. So he was king of Magadha. He was also king of Magadha. No, he was king of this Videha, like Mithila. It's now, of course, not very far from Magadha. So in that previous life. So he was having 3 generals. So they were like generals and also they were ministers and advisors. This Angati, this king had 3 generals. And he asked them, so today it's like we are like free today. We will have some amusement. We will have some fun. We will have some amusement. What shall we do? In that way, he asked his advisors. Like they were generals also, they were ministers also. So 3 of them, Vijaya, Sunama, and Alataka. They are the 3 generals. And Alataka, he was very violent person. And many people, many Kshatriyas, of course, they have fun in violence. They have fun in battles and wars. Like, of course, even today you can see. Sometimes people, they don't have any work. They feel like quarreling and fighting. And if it's like, if it's a bigger one, then it becomes the battles and wars. So Kshatriyas, many a times, they seek fun in this fighting and quarreling and in these wars. And this Alataka, he suggested the king. So now it is better to go and conquer some other king, some other province. Let us fight, and let us have fun, and let us, in that way we can use the time. That was the suggestion. And this king and the other ministers, they didn't agree with that. And the other general or the advisor, his name is Sunama. He told the king that let us have some fun, let us have some drinking, dancing, singing, merrymaking, let us have this. In that way we can have some amusement. I have seen all those things. Now I'm not like, I'm just fed up with those things. Now something else we will think of. In that way, when they were not very happy with these 2 suggestions, then the last one, the general, his name is Vijaya. He suggested Buddha, let us go and meet some wise man, a Samana or a Brahmana. Usually those days, some very renowned Samana. Samana means like ascetics who have given up the worldly life, or very great teacher, though he is a worldly person and he has become a very great teacher. He is a householder, but he is a great teacher, teaching so many things to so many students, and he has become very well known. Such kind of samanas or teachers or brahmanas, we'll go meet some wise people and we will have some conversation to develop our knowledge, to develop our wisdom and knowledge and our mental abilities. So that was the suggestion given by the last advisor. His name is Vijaya. Why I am telling these names? So that you can remember these things, because then we can relate these names with the disciples of the Buddha in the last life of Buddha, that is when he was Gautama Buddha. So these three generals, this last suggestion, it was accepted by this king, this Angati, and this king Angati along with his generals and so many other people, so many servants and so many other people. They just started walking and started traveling to meet one ascetic by name Guna. And again this was suggested by one violent, very cruel general, his name Jaataka. He suggested there is one ascetic in such and such a place. We'll go and meet him, and he is very renowned. He will teach some nice things to us. In that way, he could convince this king Angati, and all of them started traveling to meet this Guna, the ascetic, the naked ascetic. So he was in the forest. They started traveling and met him. And this Guna, of course, with mutual some cordial talk, then they, of course, taking care of how are you, how's your livelihood, how is your like that. Guna also asked this king, are you okay with your neighboring kings? Everything is going smoothly. That is what is called the cordial talk. After this cordial talk, then he started explaining, so what is your view, what is your teaching? In that way this king Angati requested this Guna, this ascetic. And he was having his own wrong view. He has designed his own wrong view. And he started teaching his wrong view, this ascetic Guna. Here, O king, I will tell you a true unerring utterance. This is one very authoritative thing I am going to teach you. There is no fruit, good or evil, in following any kind of moral rules, morality. He completely is against all these moral principles. So why this not to lie, not to steal, not to indulge in sexual misconduct, not to kill? All this is nonsense. There is no sense in all these moral principles. There is no fruit in it. There is no fruit in either good or evil. If you do good actions, there is no fruit in it. If you perform bad actions, there is no wrong in it. There is no bad fruit you are going to get from it. There is no other world. Many of you may be aware, when I was giving some talks on Buddhist cosmology, 31 planes of existence, based on your good actions and bad actions, you will take birth in these 31 planes of existence. If you accumulate your good actions by performing repeatedly the good actions, you are bound to take rebirth in a divine realm, in a superior realm where there is higher happiness, higher intelligence, higher freedom, higher peace of mind, higher bodily comfort, higher physical, mental comfort. When you keep on performing the evil actions, the bad actions, if they accumulate, if they aggravate, and if they reach that threshold, then after your death you will go to lower realms like the hells, animal realms, the spirit or the ghost realms or the titan realms. So there you suffer more, there will be higher suffering, higher burdens, higher bondage, higher ignorance. So that kind of course, so this having this faith in these other worlds will also help you to understand this law of cause and effect. And that also he is refuting. Who? This Guna, this ascetic, this naked ascetic. All this is nonsense. There is nothing like good and bad. There is nothing like other world where you will be punished or where you will be, where you will be prized or where you will get better comforts, like the divine realms where you get punishment, which are nothing but the lower realms. There is nothing like that. No other world. There are no ancestors, there are no divine divinity, there is nothing like divine beings, there is nothing like ancestors. So, you know this Punyanumodana and all, where in some realms the ancestors have to be there and they will be there. And your punya will definitely, it will have some impact on their comfort also. Because they have given so much to you, directly or indirectly. And in return, if they don't get, it will become a burden on your part. It will become a due from your part. And that will have an impact on their life also. And because of the impact that you are created for them, they in turn will create some impact for you. So all this is like cause and effect only. All this is like the energy, the good energy, the bad energy influencing others, and in return you will get back the same good or bad energy. Such a simple thing it is. Even a high school student can understand, a science student, or even a person with little bit common sense also can understand. But many views in this world, many philosophies, they can't comprehend this law of cause and effect, this right view. The same thing was with this childish person, this Guna. He was talking all these childish things. There's nothing like how can there be father and mother, how can there be ancestors, how can there be gratitude to and respect to father and mother and teacher and all these things. Gratitude and respect means what? They have given so much to me, I have to give back. That is what is gratitude and respect. All this it's nonsense. Don't believe in all this nonsense. So in that way, he has his own built up views, and he has very say corrupted views he has built up in his mind, and he started teaching all that rubbish to this king Angati. Angati was quite smart, quite wise. He was simply listening. He was not like subscribing to all these things what this Guna said, but he was simply observing and he was listening to all these things. There is no teacher who will tame what cannot be tamed. All beings are equal and alike. There are none who should receive or pay honor. There is no need to receive and pay honor to the honorables. There is no need to respect the respectables. There is no need to venerate the venerable ones. All these arrogant ideas. Everything is equal, everything is same, all of us. And see, and again you see his logic. There is no such thing as strength or courage. How can there be vigor and heroism and fulfilling the parmis and all fulfilling the merits? All this is nonsense. There is nothing like vigor also. There is nothing like energy also. To that extent he had the wrong views. There is no need to respect also. There is no need to build or cultivate your wisdom, skillfulness also. There is no need to understand what is good, what is bad also. Because there is nothing like good, there is nothing like bad. Because he has not understood the core law of cause and effect. This good begets good, bad begets bad. If the good gets accumulated, it will give the fruit. If the bad gets accumulated, it will definitely give the fruit. Just like action and reaction. For every action, there is an equal and opposite reaction. In the science, that's what they say. At the physical world, the same thing holds good at the mental world also. If the bad actions, bad energy, if you keep on producing, then you will get the bad energy. If you keep on spreading bad energy, then you will get back the same thing. Action and reaction, law of attraction. All these things he could not comprehend, and he was teaching what is called the fatalistic theory. Fatalistic means like, so 84,000 lives one has to go through, 84,000 years or million years one has to go through in this repeated births and deaths, then everybody will be liberated. Good person or bad person, everybody will be liberated. There is no meaning in performing good actions, there is no harm in performing bad actions. In that way he started teaching. All beings are predestined. They are determined, destined from the beginning itself. When their life started, they were destined to go through so many 84,000 years or 84,000 million years, I think, and going through so many lives, and after that time period, then all will be liberated. In that way, all of us are predestined. In that way, some kind of fatalistic theory he was teaching. Just as the stern rope must follow the ship, just as something you say this the cart wheel, it has to follow the hoofs of the ox, something like that. We are all destined to go through these so many lives, and after that all of us will be liberated from this repeated births and deaths. There is no need to cultivate the mind, there is no need to perform the good actions. So in that way he started giving his very distorted, very corrupted corrupted teachings he started giving. Every mortal gets what he is to get. What then is the use of giving? Then he started refuting the generosity also, giving and giving up. The morning basic course I was telling. That is the very core of Buddha's teachings. The happiness lies in giving and giving up. The suffering lies in wanting and getting attached. Wanting is the very source of suffering. Giving and giving up is the very source of freedom and happiness, success. So that kind of right view he was not in a position to appreciate, and there is no meaning in giving itself, because after so many years you will be free from all these births and deaths. So there is no need to perform good actions, bad actions. There is no need to bother about suffering and happiness also. There is no need to worry about multiplying suffering. All these things, there is no need. There is no use working in giving. The giver is helpless and weak. The giver is out of some fear. He is giving. He is weak. That's why he is giving. Gifts are enjoyed by fools. Only the bad people, crooked people, evil people only receive the gifts, and the foolish people only give the gifts. So in that way, this king was also practicing a lot of generosity. Every Uposatha day he used to offer so much to all the religious people, poor people, and also he used to encourage his family members. He was having only one child, one daughter. Her name was Ruja. He used to encourage Ruja also to offer so many things to all these, especially to the ascetics, to the wise teachers, religious teachers, spiritual teachers also. And this Ruja used to offer so many things on the Upasatha days. And he, the king, also used to offer. But this Guna, the ascetic, the naked ascetic, he is refuting all those things, and he is saying it's all useless, it's all nonsense. You are simply wasting your time, your resources, your energy in practicing this generosity, in practicing this giving, in practicing the moral precepts like this Upasatha Shila and everyday 5 Shila. You are simply wasting your joy in this worldly life. And he started appreciating the worldly pleasures, that too corrupted worldly pleasures like dancing, drinking, intoxicating, and all this worldly nonsense. Only he started appreciating. Don't worry about all this good and bad. So don't worry about all this offering, giving, morality and all these things. Simply have fun and have very, free life, lax life, sensual life. In that way, this Guna started encouraging or highlighting the importance of sensual pleasures. Because after some time anyway, those who are controlling the senses, those who are indulging in the sensual pleasures, all of them will be liberated from these repeated births and deaths after these 84,000 lives. So there is no need to struggle to perform the meritorious actions, good actions, no need to control the mind. In that way he started explaining his wrong view. There are again he is defending, going into the higher Dhamma aspects of his own creation, his own wrong view. There are 7 aggregates in our body and mind. What are the 7 aggregates? The fire, earth, water, air, the 4 which will make this body. pleasure and pain and the soul. He was having all these extreme views only. He was only these 7 aggregates are there: pain, pleasure and soul. And for the body, earth element, fire element, water element, air element. So all these 7, of these 7, there is none that can destroy or divide, nor are they ever to be destroyed. They can't destroy any other thing, or they can't be destroyed, they always remain. So in this universe existence also you can see all these elements are very much there. Pain and pleasure is very much there everywhere. Soul is very much there in all beings. And all these 4 elements very much there in all beings and also outside. They can't be destroyed and they can't destroy any other thing. They are ever permanent. Weapons pass harmless among these aggregates. He who carries off another's head with a sharp sword does not divide these aggregates. These aggregates are like always they are there. If you pierce another's body, which is made up of again these 7 aggregates, you are not doing any harm. They are very much there. If he dies, if he is alive, these 7 aggregates are very much there. That's why there is no harm in killing also. So in that way, he has like his own cooked up, distorted wrong view. He started explaining to the king. How then should there be any consequence from evil doing? All beings become pure by passing through 84 great eons, 84 kalpas. It's not just 84,000 years, it is 84 kalpas. It is long period. Till that period arrives, not even the wisest man or whoever it may be, he becomes pure. Only the time will make you pure. This 84 eons, you have to go through, pass through. That only will make you pure and you will be liberated. Until then, whatever you do, whatever harm you do to yourself or you do to others, there is no problem. There is no effect, there is no impact. Till that period arrives, however much they have followed virtue, whatever virtue you follow, it's of no use. Whatever vice, whatever evil you do, it's of no use, it's of no impact. Whatever virtue you follow, it's of no use. They will not purify you. And even if they commit many sins, they do not go beyond that limit. 84 eons, their limit will be over. And whatever evil they do, they will be freed after that. One by one we are purified through the 84 great eons. We cannot go beyond our destiny anymore than the sea beyond its shore. Just like the sea can't cross the shore, the same way we can't cross beyond these 84 eons. So that's why you don't worry about this good actions and bad actions. So in that way he started teaching his wrong view, wrong theory. Then to reprove his theory, again this Alata, who is a violent man, who is having fun in killing people, who is having fun in violence and intoxication in all these wise things, VIC, wise, all these evil things. He started reproving that, this Gunas ideology, Gunas philosophy, Gunas wrong view. He started defending that. What you say approves itself also to me. For me also it is correct. Because I can remember my previous life. In my previous life I was a hunter. I used to kill a lot of cows, lot of buffaloes, lot of animals. And hogs, goats, everything I used to kill. But now I have taken birth in a very prosperous family of a general. My father was also a general. Now I am the general of this great king, Videha king, Angati. This Alataka, he was proving that this Gunas philosophy, Gunas view is perfect view. So you see, whatever bad I did in my previous life, there is no impact on my present life. I have a very good birth now, though I was a great killer in the previous life. Now I am a general. I'm enjoying this very, very luxurious life in the palace. I did not go to the hell, or I am not taking birth in a very miserable place. So in that way he started proving this Gunas wrong view. wrong philosophy, wrong theory. And also there was one more servant, one more slave servant, his name was Jaataka. And he also started weeping and crying, and when this king asked, why are you crying? Then he narrates that in my previous life I was very virtuous, I was very pure, I was esteemed by wise people, the Samanas and Brahmanas, and I was very generous, I was very moral. But now what happened, you see? Now I took birth in the womb of a prostitute in a very miserable condition, very poor prostitute. Now I have to take birth as a slave, I have to take birth as a very poor person and became a slave and servant. So though I practiced so many virtues in my previous life, now they are not giving right results to me. Now I am in this birth, I am very, very miserable. My condition, my life is pathetic. So in that way he started crying. So, and also he was also reproving that Guna's philosophy is right. So the people say, some wise people say, good begets good. No, it's wrong. Though I was good in my previous life, now I am getting all the misery. So in that way he started defending this Guna's philosophy. In that way, after listening to all these people, this king was also a little bit perturbed. And then after discussing with these bad people like Guna, like Jaataka and this Alataka, furthermore, he concluded, there is no need to practice all these generous actions, there is no need to practice all these moral conduct, moral principles. Let me give up all my responsibilities of ruling this kingdom, of administering this kingdom to all these generals and other ministers. Now I will go and spend my time in sensual pleasures, in enjoying the different sensual objects. In that way he decided, and he just ignored his moral principles, morality, his generous actions. He just left that place and left his palace, and then he went in a different place, in different palace, different circumstance. He created his own very sensual world. After listening to this, his daughter Ruja, she was very wise daughter, and she was the only daughter of this king. He was having 16,000 wives, and only one daughter he had for his chief queen. He was having only one daughter, and she was the daughter for all these 16,000 wives also. In that way she was very much loved by everyone, this Ruja. And she was very virtuous also, very beautiful also, very intelligent also, very wise. Because of all her qualities, she was very much prized, respected, loved by all the subjects of that kingdom, all the citizens of that kingdom also. And of course the king also used to love her so much. And again on the 15th day, next 15th day, she decided to meet her father, because every 15th day he used to send a lot of money to his daughter, and a lot of other things like flowers, scents and so many things, and for her amusement, for her enjoyment, and also a lot of money to make her to give contributions, to give offerings to the people, the needy people, the spiritual people or the needy poor people. So she used to give lot of dana, lot of offerings, lot of generosity, charitable action, charitable activities she used to perform once in 15 days in a big way. For that she was not getting all the resources that her father used to send all the time, but this time he has not sent. And to find out what's the reason, she came to her father's place, and her father explained about all the things that happened between him and his generals, and then they went to meet this ascetic Guna, And then how this Salataka and Bijaka and Guna, they could convince the king, Angati, to ignore all these meritorious actions like generosity, like generous actions, charitable work, and also this moral conduct. All these things I have given up, but because there is no sense in it. You also give up all these things. You also stop all this offering and this giving ceremonies, and also you stop practicing the meritorious actions like moral actions, like moral conduct, moral principles, and upasata also you stop. Whatever you want, like whatever fun you need, whatever joyful things that you require, I provide everything, but not for others, not for your spiritual growth, not for your, not to cultivate these meritorious actions like generosity and morality. For your essential, for your joy, for your pleasures, whatever you ask, I give. You ask my entire kingdom also, I can give you, because you are my only loved daughter, whom I love so much that I can give anything to you. So in that way, this king told his daughter. Being a wise girl, this Ruja, his daughter, he started reprimanding the king. She was having that moral courage. If that idiot, that Guna, if he is not bothered about the consequences of moral actions, consequence of actions, then why should he become an ascetic and go and stay in a jungle, going through all the hardships, becoming a naked ascetic and going through all the hardships? If he is not bothered about the consequence of actions, then he would have stayed as a normal being, normal human being. Why he has to control so much? Why he has to strain himself, restrain his senses and become a naked ascetic? That idiot Guna. So in that very first point itself was so powerful, but still this king, he was very much, like say, captivated by this wrong idea, wrong principles. Though he could appreciate that, but he could not move away from his wrong view that has been very much deeply ingrained in his mind because of the teachings of this Guna and this Alata, he is one of the generals, and also this Bijaka, one of the servants. These people had completely brainwashed this king. And of course, she is a very, very persistent, very, very loving daughter. She used to love her father also. She wanted to save her father from this wrong view that he had got from these stupid people, like this Alata and this Bijaka and this Guna. And again she started convincing her father, saying that she started giving so many similes, how this action and reaction works. So he has how these people's say experience of the previous life and the present life, how they are comparing. This Alataka, in the previous life he was a killer, he was a hunter, killing so many animals, a wretched hunter. But in his furthermore previous lives, he had cultivated a lot of good. Because of that higher good, so whatever bad actions that he did in his previous life as a hunter, so they have overpowered, and now at this life he has become a general. But still that bad action that he has done, it is very much there. It has to accumulate. When the bad actions accumulate, when they multiply, when they reach the threshold, then again it will start giving the results. Whether it is good action or bad action, it has to accumulate, it has to reach the threshold, then only it will start giving the results. Until then, it will not give the results. Doesn't mean that it will not going to give the results, but it has to reach that threshold, then only it gives results. Just like one ship which is overburdened by lot of cargo, lot of luggage, it will take its own time to sink. Slowly, slowly, slowly it will sink. Instantly it will not sink. The higher the burden, and slowly, slowly it will start sinking. The same way, higher your evil actions, it will take its own time for you to sink and to get the difficult or the miserable life. In the same way, this Bijaka's case also, Bijaka had, though he had done some very good actions in his previous life, but previous to previous, he had done a lot of wrong actions. Because of the evil actions that he has performed in so many lives, previous to his previous life, they accumulated and they reached the threshold and they started giving result in this life as a wretched slave who has taken birth in a very poor prostitute. So that's why he is suffering now. So in that way, you can't ignore this karmic effect, the effect of karma. Because of that reason, one should always focus on these meritorious actions, focus on this art of generosity, art of morality, art of mind culture. One should always work on this. And because of, and based on so many other parameters, you will start getting better realms, better lives. In that way, like a wise teacher, she started explaining, she started convincing her father. Though he used to agree out of love for the daughter, but he was not deeply taken by the words of his daughter, that is Ruja. That she could grasp, this girl Ruja could grasp, and she requested the divinity, the divine beings to come and help her so that her father can be freed from this wrong view. So she started proclaiming, she started requesting the divinity. So that was heard by our Bodhisattva. He was a great Brahma during that time. His name was Narad Mahakasyapa. Brahma Narad, this great Brahma, Mahabrahma Narad Mahakasyapa. He heard this Ruja's request, and he decided, oh, it is me only who can clear the wrong view of this king, who is wrongly influenced by these idiots, these three stupid people, this Guna, this Alata, this general, and this slave Bijaka. Though his daughter is convincing very beautifully, very logically, how everything has to be accumulated, how these people, by looking very shallow, in a very shallow way, they are looking at the effect, the previous life and the present life. They are not looking the other lives previous to the previous life. That's why they have concluded in a wrong way. So whatever you want to conclude, you should look at the things in a broader spectrum, in a wider range. If you have that shallow-sightedness, short-sightedness, you will take wrong conclusions. You will take wrong decisions, you conclude very wrongly. That's why a wise person, he will look at the things with a broader spectrum, with a wider range. That's what this Ruja was doing. That's what is the right view. From there only you can conclude this law of cause and effect, and you establish in the right view. And you start appreciating all these meritorious actions, and then you start appreciating and practicing all the parmis also. If you have little more wider spectrum, wider view, wider vision, the people who are mean, the people who are short-sighted, they end up in all these idiotic views, in the short-sighted views only. People who are interested in some temporary excitement of the senses, they only will fall into the trap of this bad habits, like this intoxicating or this simply spending time in singing, dancing, and some nonsense entertainment, which gives some temporary excitement to the senses. A person who is having some broader vision, some wider range about the life, about the happiness, about freedom, about true happiness, about superior happiness, such people, they don't fall prey to all these cheap intoxications, cheap excitements, cheap pleasures, cheap happiness. So in that way, one should look at the things with a broader spectrum. Then the broader is your view, the broader is your vision, the broader is your observation, the higher will be your wisdom, the higher will be your freedom. That's why even these Four Noble Truths and this right view also, you have to penetrate deeper and deeper and make it broader and broader. Then your wisdom levels and freedom levels also will keep on increasing, will keep on expanding. So in that way, now this Mahabrahma, this Bodhisattva, Mahanarada Kasyapa, his name at that time was Kasyapa, Mahanarada Kasyapa. He decided to support or help this poor lady, poor girl, this good girl, this Ruja, by converting this her father Angati from wrong view to right view. So he appeared from the moon. He started appearing and he started descending from the moon, and he started as a sage in the form of a human form. As a sage, he appeared in front of this Ruja and this Angati, and that very appearance itself was like very powerful, and they developed a lot of respect towards this sage, who is in disguise now, of course, Mahabrahma, who is in the disguise of a sage. And this king requested what's his name and all, and he said he is Mahanarada. And after this cordial talk, then this Ruja, she started explaining about the wrong view that her father had developed. Then this king also started asking whether there is a meaning for all these meritorious actions, whether there is other world, next life, and different worlds other than the human world, and there are lives after the death of the human being, whether all these things are there. In that way he asked this Mahabrahma, and this of course that time he was like a sage, Mahanarada Kassapa. So he asked this Mahanarada, and he said yes, there are other lives also, other worlds also. But then he started laughing. He was a bit proud of that wrong view. He developed some proudness also, that king Angati. So then if there is a next world, then you give me some 500 coins, then I will return back 1000 coins to you in the next life. With some arrogance, with some proudness, with some disrespect, he asked this Mahanarada. Then Mahanarada gave a very skillful answer. That time many people, many ministers, subjects were also watching this conversation. They were looking for what is the answer given, what may be the answer that this sage can give to our king. Many of them, they were having the right view. Many of them, they were interested in the performing meritorious actions. They too wanted, with his ministers and subjects, they too wanted their king to become normal, to the king to come back to his original philosophy, original understanding of right view. They were also looking for it. So they were also expecting this sage to convert their king. And the sage, this Mahanarada, he gave one very beautiful answer. Because of all this wrong view, because of all these evil actions that you are performing, you will take birth in a hell in the next life. How can you give? That time he will be suffering without anything. As a wretched fellow, you will be wretched creature. Forget about a person. As a creature, you will be suffering in the hell. How can you return back the 1000 coins? You yourself will be suffering for food, water, everything. Then how can you return back 1000 coins in that next birth, where you are suffering like one wretched creature in the hell? Everybody appreciated that, and also shook his mind, his wrong view, this king's wrong view. But still, he was so adamant to his wrong view. Then he started arguing. Then he had to give, this Mahanarada had to give so many similes and examples of how this accumulation of karma is very, very important. It's not just with one karma, we should not expect the result from one karma. The karma accumulation, it's called alchemy of karma, the universal alchemy of karma. Like the karma, it has so many parameters, so many intricacies are there in this law of karma and law of karma, that is law of cause and effect. Simply by looking it in a very shallow way, in a superficial way, if you conclude there is nothing like action and reaction, there is nothing like cause and effect, then you are a fool. So Buddha has to give the examples of so many other kings who accumulated and where they get destined to, where they could take birth after their death, and also even when they are alive, by accumulating a lot of good actions, what kind of benefits they could get in their old age or when they were little old. And the people who repeatedly performing the evil actions, how they could end up in the evil results, the bad results, the bad fruits of their bad actions that they could reap in their old age or in the subsequent lives. He could started narrating so many examples. So in that way, so this Mahanarada Kassapa, through so many similes and examples, he could, and also he started explaining, he started showing the different hells where through his supernormal powers, so that he could experience and see, practically see the evil consequences lead to these kind of hellish realms where there is a lot of suffering. And he could show the divine realms also by accumulating virtuous actions, how people are enjoying everything, the sensual pleasures, the freedom, everything in the divine realms, that he could show. And before that, Ruja also used to convince about telling about her previous lives. I am achieving all these pleasures, taking birth in this palace as the daughter of this great king, Angati. It's because of my accumulated good actions. I have taken birth in the previous 7 lives in a very miserable way. I had to live because 7 lives previously I was like I was not practicing morality in the company of a bad person, one bad friend. So I used to indulge in the sexual misconduct, spoiling the wives of other people. Because of that evil action, I suffered so many times in the hells, and as animal, as a monkey or as a goat. In all those times, when I took birth as a male goat, he-goat or male monkey, it was castrated. It was being bitten by other monkeys when she was a monkey, one of her previous life. All her the testicles, and it was castrated, it was bitten. See, it can be comprehended. When you indulge in this kind of sexual misconduct, then you will take birth as animals, or you will take birth as in the hells, or if you take birth as an animal also, you will be castrated. If you take birth as a human being, she became one neuter gender, like where there is no, where there is some difficulty of having sensual pleasure because of that neuter gender, a hermaphrodite. That is all because of the consequence of sexual misconduct. That she used to explain very intelligently to her father. Such a wise lady she was, such a wise girl she was. And again, she has to go through so many lives, and then finally her good actions she keep on performing in all those lives to nullify her bad actions that she performed when she was indulging in the sexual misconduct, going behind the wives of other people. Because of the bad association. One of her friends, he was very bad person, and because of that bad association, she became very bad. And because of her wisdom, she came out of that trap, and because of performing good actions in so many lives, now she became the daughter of this king. But still she was having that feminine body. But she was knowing very well that she has to perform more meritorious actions so that she could be liberated, she could take some superior birth, superior gender, and she could be liberated. So in that way, she explained everything with a lot of similes. And again, this Mahanarada Kassapa, our Bodhisattva also, started explaining, started showing, making him to experience the consequences of bad actions lead to miserable states, consequences of good actions lead to pleasurable divine states. All these things he started logically explaining and also practically showing. And because of these efforts of these two people, this Mahanarada Kassapa, our Bodhisattva, and also the daughter, he could come out of the wrong view, this king Angati. So that the same king, now he is this Urvela Kassapa, who is practicing this fire worshipping, thinking that it will emancipate him. And I had to show so many supernormal powers, some 16 kinds of supernormal powers, and I had to convince him in several ways to come out of his wrong view of fire worshipping and to follow this right view, this law of cause and effect, and working on one's own mind, mind purification, mind centeredness. All these things I had to teach him through. Not only logically I had to teach him, I had to show so many supernormal powers. Then only he could convert from that fire worshipping to now this right view worshipper or this right view practitioner, taking this Dhamma properly, the spirit of Dhamma properly. In that way, he could, Buddha taught the right view through this Jaataka tale by narrating how this Kassapa, Urvela Kassapa, been converted from wrong view to right view. So that made so many people, the king and so many people, to understand the right view correctly, to understand this law of cause and effect rightly, to get motivated, inspired to perform the meritorious actions like generosity, generous actions, the art of giving in several ways, in very skillful ways. Everybody, even the most wretched fellow, the poorest of the poor also, he can practice, he can cultivate the art of giving. Everybody, they will be bestowed with some skill of performing something so that he could give something to others, he could benefit to others in some way or the other way. That is the beauty of this law of cause and effect. If there is no law of cause and effect, if there is no good beget goods, good begets good, bad begets bad principle in this world, then everybody will become like either say indulge in sensual things, only craving and simply being carried away in some excitement, in some temporary excitement of the senses, or people simply become lazy and doing nothing. Good begets good. How best I can give? How best giving is happiness, craving is suffering. Understanding Four Noble Truths also become easy. And understanding middle path, extreme of bodily pleasures is bad, extreme of simply depending on soul and supreme soul, ignoring the mind, ignoring the meritorious actions, not good. So you will automatically establish in this mind-centeredness, in this middle path. You will automatically understand the Four Noble Truths. You will automatically start performing the meritorious actions with zeal and enthusiasm, with lot of zeal. You will start, how best I can give, what best I can give, what I can give to whom. For spiritual people, what I can give, for poor people, what I can give. What is my ability, what is my skill, what is my resource. All these things, you start thinking on what best you can give. That is what is the power of this law of cause and effect. That is the power of right view, that is the power of mind-centeredness, that is the power of these meritorious actions like generosity, like morality, like mind culture, meditation, respecting the respectables. That's how the righteousness, the Dhamma will be established in the world. If you make people simply crave for the things, simply beg for the things, make them more wretched, more useless, then that is adharma. If people are motivated to do something, give something, whatever they could, according to their ability, that is what is the cycle of dharma. You are establishing that cycle of righteousness. So that's why all bodhisattvas and buddhas and all, for that matter, all wise people, they work on to inspire people to give rather than to simply crave and ask and beg and attached to the things. The more and more you give and give up and get detached, the more and more happiness you will get, the more and more freedom you will get, the more and more success, the more and more growth in the life, the more and more superiority in the social, strata also you will achieve. All these things, if it is not taught, which is again based on this law of cause and effect, good begets good. Though it may take some time, it has to be accumulated. Your duty is to keep simply working on this good, simply working on this art of giving. Bad is art of craving, good is art of giving, that's all. So, in that way, these Jataka tales should be understood and should be grasped. The crux, the core of these Jataka tales, that is, and that should be imbibed in your lives, because that is what is the very purpose of the human life. Understanding, imbibing right view, practicing right view in each and every dimension of the life. That is the very purpose of human life. So if you want to fulfill that purpose, then you start appreciating, start practicing this right view and different actions pertaining to the right view, like the meritorious actions, different aspects, parameters of the right view, like this law of cause and effect, the Four Noble Truths, and this the universal characteristics and the middle path, not falling into the extremes. All these parameters also should start comprehending, and also based on these parameters there are different actions like meritorious actions, like your generous actions, and then moral actions, mind culture actions, respect service, respecting the respectables, punyanamodana. So next month we have this punyanamodana program. We are respecting our ancestors and the divine beings who are helping me, who have helped me, so that to show our gratitude in return, and also thereby seeking their protection from them. All these punyanamodana activities also you should participate, and thereby you will start establishing in this right view more authoritatively. So with that, I think we'll conclude today's Dhamma talk. If you have some quick questions, you can ask. Now it's time. If there are some questions, we will see. Otherwise, we'll conclude with one small chanting. Okay, we'll conclude with one small chanting. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa bhavatu sabba mangalam rakkantu sabba devata sabba buddhanubhavena sabba dhammanubhavena sabba sanganubhavena sada soti bhavantu te sukhi bhaveyan nidhuko aham nicha aham viya ida chame sukhi hontu majjata chatavedino imam hi gammante dhamme satta hontu sukhi sada tato paranchara jesu chakkavale sujantano. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. Sadhu, sukhi hontu, mangal ho. May all of you be happy, healthy and peaceful. May all beings also be happy, healthy and peaceful. May all of you establish in this right view, in this law of cause and effect, and in these meritorious actions. May all of you progress in this Dhamma. Sukhi hontu, mangal ho.